Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting, well, truly informed. Today, we're tackling a big one, a high-profile case that just took a major turn, rapper Boosie Badazz. He's just accepted a federal plea deal, California gun case. Our mission here is simple: cut through the noise, unpack what really happened, and figure out what it means for you.
Yeah, and this isn't, just another celebrity headline hitting the news cycle. This case, it gives us a fascinating look into the federal justice system. Things like the incredible power of digital evidence now, and some pretty big legal debates that are ongoing. By the time we're done here, you'll get not just what went down, but really why it's significant in the bigger picture.
Exactly. We've got source material today that really analyzes this whole thing. There's a detailed timeline, a look at the strategies involved. Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this. So it all kicked off with Boosie's arrest in San Diego. That was back in June 2023. But what's really interesting is how they zeroed in on him initially. What led them there?
Right. And that's where the digital angle comes in immediately. It's critical. The arrest was prompted because, well, footage showed Boosie with a weapon, plain and simple. That footage led investigators directly to recovering a gun. So think about that. His own digital trail, caught on video, that was the starting point.
And then things got, well, complicated, a real winding road. In 2024, surprise twist, the case gets dismissed. You'd think that's the end, right? But nope. Then came the reindictment in July 2024. What's going on there? What does that signal?
Yeah, that dismissal and reindictment sequence, it really shows you the, let's call it the federal hammer. Even when a case looks like it's over from one angle, the government can often find another way. It points to really persistent enforcement by prosecutors, tenacity. It tells you the federal system has deep resources and, resolve even after a setback.
So all that back and forth, it leads us to now. Early August 2025, around the 4th or 5th, he accepts a federal plea deal. And he even said publicly he was tired of fighting. Makes sense, maybe. So what do we actually know about this plea deal? The terms are sealed, right?
That's correct. The exact charges he pleaded guilty to, the specific terms, they're sealed or unreleased. That's actually pretty common, especially in cases that get a lot of attention. Now, based on everything, the likely charge involved is 18 U.S.C. Section 922 G1. That's the federal law against felons possessing firearms. A common charge. And why keep it sealed? Well, it avoids intense public scrutiny during sensitive phases, and it can give both sides a bit more room to maneuver in the negotiations,
Right, gotcha. So he fights it for a long time, then switches gears. Why take the plea now? What are the sort of strategic upsides for him, especially in the federal system?
That's really the core question, isn't it? And often it really boils down to risk reduction, plain and simple. One major factor in federal pleas is the chance to get acceptance of responsibility credits.
Okay, acceptance of responsibility. How do those actually work? What do they do?
Basically, under the federal sentencing guidelines, if a defendant clearly shows they recognize and accept personal responsibility for what they did, they can get a reduction in their sentencing calculation. It's a pretty powerful incentive for defendants to plead guilty, potentially shaving significant time off a sentence.
Makes sense. And thinking about that evidence, that initial footage, how much did the whole social media impact play into this decision, do you think? That video seems pretty damning.
Oh, absolutely critical. You hit the nail on the head. When you have digital evidence like that clear video linking someone directly to a prohibited item, like a weapon, it makes taking the case to trial incredibly risky, much more unpredictable. The prosecution's hand is just so much stronger. It definitely pushes things towards negotiation, towards a plea.
And beyond the cold legal calculus, there's the personal side, too. Like you mentioned him saying he was tired of fighting.
Yeah.
That desire for just predictability. Getting it over with.
Exactly. You can't discount the human element. The strategic advantages are clear.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. What does this whole saga tell us more broadly? About where things are heading with the law, social media, guns, all that.
It's a great case study, actually. It really highlights how much social media complicates things for criminal defense. Something posted online, maybe casually, maybe years ago, it can become crucial evidence for the prosecution. Photos, videos, even just text posts, they can seriously impact legal strategy, definitely increase the risks of going to trial. Law enforcement and prosecutors are absolutely leveraging this more and more.
You mentioned earlier the Second Amendment connection. This case seems to sit right in that ongoing tension, doesn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely does. You have the Supreme Court's Bruin decision from 2022. That case affirmed the right to carry firearms publicly for self-defense. Big decision. But at the same time, federal authorities are still very actively prosecuting certain gun charges, especially felon in possession cases like this one likely is. So Boosie's case really spotlights that ongoing legal debate, that friction between gun rights interpretations and federal enforcement priorities. It's still very much in flux.
So in the end, this plea deal looks like, well, a pragmatic choice for Boosie.
Yeah.
A calculation, really. Avoid the trial gamble, put a cap on potential prison time.
Yeah.
But the full story, supervised release, actual time served, we won't know until sentencing.
Exactly. And looking at cases like this, you really see the value in understanding how these complex systems work, especially with high-profile figures navigating these intersections of, digital evidence, federal power, and these evolving legal interpretations. It tells us a lot about the bigger currents.
It really does. And maybe that leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. As digital recording becomes totally ubiquitous, social media is everywhere, how do you think that's going to continue shifting the balance of power, between the defense and the prosecution in the years ahead? Something to chew on.